The alien prince collapsed onto the cold, barren soil of the desolate moon, his once majestic robes now in tatters, his golden eyes dim with exhaustion. The weight of his exile pressed down on him, heavier than the gravity of this forsaken rock. His own people had cast him out, branding him a traitor, a liar, an unwanted burden. He had been left to die in the void, his only crime being that he had spoken the truth. Far from the alien suffering, on a remote human research station orbiting a distant gas giant, Dr. Elias Carter adjusted the settings on his console. His mission was simple: observe, collect data, and avoid trouble. Humans were still a relatively small force in the galactic community, and Elias preferred the solitude of his work over the chaotic politics of interstellar relations. Then the distress beacon came. Weak, barely a whisper against the background noise of space, but unmistakably a plea for help. Elias hesitated for only a moment before setting his ship's course. When he arrived at the signal's source, what he found was shocking: a Maltheran, one of the most powerful alien races in the known galaxy, lying unconscious and barely breathing. It took hours to stabilize him, and when the prince finally woke, his expression flickered between wariness and relief. "Why did you save me?" he rasped, his voice rough from dehydration. "Because you needed help," Elias said simply. "That's what humans do." The alien studied him carefully before sighing. "I am Prince Kaelor of the Maltheran Dominion, though that title means nothing anymore." As Kaelor regained his strength, he explained his exile. He had discovered a dark secret hidden beneath the opulence of his people's rule, a hidden war, one waged in shadows, enslaving weaker civilizations under the guise of peace. When he spoke out, they turned on him. His own father, Emperor Varek, had ordered his execution. Instead, his closest friend had helped him escape, but he had been alone ever since. Elias listened, his mind racing. The Maltherans were known as benevolent rulers, champions of diplomacy. If what Kaelor said was true, it would shake the foundations of the galaxy. But without proof, his words were just the desperate cries of an outcast. "I believe you," Elias said, "but we need evidence." Kaelor nodded. "There is one place. A hidden archive on Valtiz 4. If we can get there, we can expose everything." It was madness. Valtiz 4 was deep within Maltheran space, a fortress world. But Elias had seen too many truths buried by those in power. If this could prevent more suffering, he had to try. They traveled under the radar, avoiding patrols, hacking into secure networks. Elias marveled at Kaelor's resilience. Despite his suffering, he carried himself with the dignity of a true leader. When they finally reached Valtiz 4, they infiltrated the archives, downloading damning evidence, forced labor camps, planetary resource plundering, assassination orders, all under the Emperor's seal. But the Maltherans were not blind to their intrusion. The moment they attempted to leave, alarms blared, and soldiers poured in. Kaelor fought with the desperation of a man who had lost everything, while Elias used his quick thinking to override security doors, buying them time. Just as it seemed they were trapped, a sudden explosion rocked the facility. Kaelor's old friend, the one who had helped him escape before, had returned. "I knew you wouldn't give up," she said, tossing him a blaster. "Let's finish this." With her help, they broadcasted the stolen data across the entire Maltheran network. The truth spread like wildfire. Loyalists turned against their corrupt leaders, and worlds under Maltheran control revolted. The Dominion trembled as its false peace was shattered by reality. Kaelor was no longer an exiled prince. He was the rightful heir to a broken empire, one he now had the chance to rebuild. As he stood before the massive crowds demanding change, he turned to Elias. "You could return to your life, pretend none of this happened," he said. "But if you stay, you could help forge something better." Elias looked at the revolution unfolding before him. He had been a scientist, a man of logic, but for the first time in his life, he saw something worth fighting for. "I'm staying," he said, and together, they stepped forward into a new future.